When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
A new season and a new international schedule. There's only one place to be at one time for the most action-packed open wheel racing and iRacing, and it is on Mondays. Welcome along to the... My mic died on the other side. Welcome to the brand new season of the FF1600 Open Championship. My name's Howie Burrows, and I'm joined by Ronald Mons, doing my best to recover an excellent intro. Put a lot of time into running in. Ron, we have a slightly crazy schedule on the way, and it all begins here.
Yeah, and really looking forward to this brand new season of racing action here for season number 3. We got a really good race in store this evening. The top split action that we're covering here today, 4,800 SoF. So that is rather insane at this rather hectic racetrack as well. We were talking right before the start of this broadcast, Howie. This race was going to be one where these drivers are going to be packed in like sardines. It is going to be a race where no one can really get away from anybody, which is fantastic for us on the broadcast, but for those drivers out there on the racetrack, going to be a rather hair-raising afternoon to get this season underway.
We now head very international for the 2023-5 Season 3, and we begin at what I would consider an all-time iRacing classic, but take away the chicanes and you get something that's been chaotic all week, and it won't be the last of the chaotic weeks on the schedule. Drivers running through their qualifying as we speak. I hear we have a bumper-sized SoF to contend with. 18 drivers, including plenty familiar, but some brand new to the series. They've come out in force all week, and they're gonna deliver on this super fast, let's call it a British speedway.
Yeah, it really does feel like an oval track in a sense. You do have left and right turns, so it's not a complete oval. It's a rather lumpy racetrack, this, but some of the lumps have been taken away. The 2 chicanes that you usually have on the back end of the circuit have been removed for the layout that we are running here today. Speeds are going to be high, heading down that backstretch off into turn number 7 of Knickerbrook, which is just one of the best corner names in all of the world when it comes to motorsports. Absolutely fantastic corners around here. A really fun track, but this is one where if you go a little bit sideways, you can be in for not even a world of hurt. You can be screwed. If you have a moment down here into turn number 4 of Island Bend, for instance, clip into the grass, go into the gravel, and maybe even take a one-way trip into the barrier, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that that is not a recipe for success. These drivers, as much as they're going to be caught up battling each other, they also have to battle this racetrack as well.
Flying down this straight is the biblically accurate way of this track, I like to call it. It can be viciously fast. Ignore the brake markers on the left-hand side, because you're swinging through one of the most fun corners on all of iRacing. A 4,800 SoF among these drivers means that the level of competition is going to be high, and that's not going to necessarily extend to the cleanliness out here. I've heard lots of stories of some madness out there on the track. It's very, very, very hard to keep the car pointing one way and in one place. Here's Henry I.E. Moore. I've never seen him, but he's 8.8k dropping in for the season debut. So brand new to the season schedule, but absolutely some top Formula drivers running in here. A couple other names, Alex O'Grady, who I've not encountered, but plenty of known names too. Renz Brookman in the free car, hoping to take home a championship alongside the likes of Frederick Surley, Daniel Tufts, and plenty more that we'll have a rundown on the grid very soon.
And got an opportunity to cover a Formula Ford race on iRacing just one day ago here. And at this exact same racetrack, Daniel Tufts was able to grab a win. That race had some changeable conditions with some rain thrown in the forecast as well. Not going to have that here for this SoF race today, at least we think. I make this joke many, many times. The iRacing weather forecasts are often about as accurate as they are in real life. So true to sim there when it comes to the folks at iRacing working on the rain system here in iRacing. So Tufts, as much as that race was rather different and about 40 minutes long, Tufts, he's a very quick racer. He's got some momentum, ran fantastic throughout last season, wasn't able to walk away with the championship, but still held on in terms of the results that he grabbed week in and week out. He's a good racer in these FFs, so I have a feeling that coming into season 3, Daniel Tufts is going to look to be on tip-top form once again.
Sometimes a little bit of run on luck too many times can cost an entire championship run. Drivers almost getting their way done with qualifying. We have 2 minutes to go and a packed field, but it's the top 3 of Henry I.E. Moore, Alex O'Grady, and Lewis Werrell, who haven't actually set their laps yet. Neither have been able to get a legal one on the board. I.E. Moore cutting the track for a 1:13.1. I don't think counts as a valid lap, given the most drivers have been running 35s. Alex O'Grady coming through to cross the line now up the hill. This will be his last attempt. There's some really brutal off-tracks around here. Does this one count as legal? It does. It's P2. It's leaves one more driver. It's Lewis Werrell.
He heads his way down through some of the final corners of this racetrack. That's Druid's corner of turn number 10. Over the hill and under the bridge, he's going to go down into Lodge corner of turn number 11. The final real turn around this racetrack, although turn 12 and some other cars may be a bit of a task, especially if we were running in the rain. But here in these FFs in the dry, going to be a rather smooth run up to the line for the driver, the number 4. As he comes across the line, what sort of lap time is it from the number 4? Is it Paul? I don't believe that time may have counted. I'm not seeing anything.
It came down as a 35.7, but it's not actually a legal time this time around, so he gets just a bit more to make one more loop of the track. Maybe not that much more. 1:20 on a 1:30 lap. That's one of those corners that can send you wide. Lewis has hit the off track, and he's going to retire his lap right now.
Yeah, that's one more thing to talk about this racetrack. Super tough to keep the car on the road, keep that machine on the asphalt, and make sure you can avoid picking up those off tracks in this qualifying session. This session is rather intense. 8 minutes long may not seem like a lot of time, and it is, but these drivers only have 2 laps, 2 opportunities to put time on the board, and that doesn't matter regardless of what sort of stuff you've got going on. Pick up some off tracks, doesn't matter. If you have 2 laps and they're both off track, you're not going to have time on the board. It's important, really, in a session like this, just to make sure you have a time on the board. Looking through some of the racers here in qualifying, there's 2 who haven't had qualifying time in the form of Lewis Werrell and Henry I.E. Moore. Some very promising drivers heading into this race, not being able to set a qualifying time. So another important factor of this race here at Oulton Park, managing those incidents in both the qualifying session that we're in right now and the race we have coming up.
Well, it's going to be a tough one to start from the back here, and there's going to be a lot of working together and a whole lot of coordination to maybe punch up the field. I've seen a lot of Skip Barber races in my time, and it's going to be very similar in terms of its character, where being in the right place at the right time is going to help you strike to the top. Sometimes it's just being in touch, ready to land. We have a starting grid. So it's on its way. We even got the audio this time around on this side of the graphics, so ain't that extraordinary. Give us a run through the starting grid.
And let's take a look at it. It's going to be Fraser Smith starting this race from the pole. Alex O'Grady set to join him on the front row. In P3, it's going to be Jordan Gronkowski in the number 6 car alongside Andrea Bellotti in the number 11. P5, we'll see Renz Broekman. P6, we'll see Martin Arnoldus.
I go for Arnold. I go for Arnoldus.
Arnoldus, there we go. Yeah, I got there eventually. It took me about 15,000 years, but I got there eventually. Leonardo Paiwas Nogueira will start this race in P at number 7 alongside Christopher Cash in the 8th starting spot. Graham Rory Hunt will start this race in 9th with Daniel Tufts in the number 10 car, rounding out your top 10.
Frederick Surley makes it to P11 ahead of Matt White in P12. Next row back is Alexander Istad and Marty Keepor in front of Philip Sear and Dima Sirkin, Henry I.E. Moore and Lewis Werrell. There's a lot of Skip Barber drivers that have come out to that day. There are more drivers in the race that didn't set their qualifying time, I believe. No, I.E. Moore and Werrell make the back of this pack. That makes 18 cars. They're hitting the grid as we speak for a quite quick race as ever. 20 minutes, an expected 13 laps around here and a DQ that comes striking. But I don't have too much time to go through the details because every car's on the grid. And so that race is going to go green on the drop of a heartbeat. On the front row, Fraser Smith. Oh, Alex O'Grady's waiting. Alex O'Grady's making us wait. Never mind.
Those mind games. I like it when these drivers do that. Just wait until the last second. Yeah, there we go.
I'm often the one that makes you wait along the way, let me tell you that. So the driver's locked and loaded for 20 minutes of racing, and away we go. The 5 of Smith off the grid. Very quick. Grady just behind, and Jordan Gogrowski sits in 3 ahead of Renz Broekman. Everybody files out to single file just behind. No disasters off the bat. And this is a lot of cars to try and sneak down this first turn. The draft game's going to start almost immediately off the bat.
Yeah, as soon as these drivers build up any form of momentum heading down this backstretch off into turn number 4, we're going to start to see them try and chase that drift. These FFs may not be the most draft-heavy race cars in the world, but as we saw last season, and we are going to be seeing here throughout this opening race here in season number 3, the draft is super, super strong, and just strong enough for these race cars to remain glued together. So let's see as these drivers head their way out of turn number 6, down the back straightaway for the first time. Look at the move from O'Grady as he heads his way down to 7.
This is going to be the back and forth trade for a bit. Noah Chicano, and you fling it right to go back up the hill. O'Grady still trying to get his nose in on the gap that's closed up, and I think Jordan Gronowski has seen this and is ready to pounce. Too wide across the top of the track. Bit of a wobble from Jordan back there, and that's our first big wreck. Fraser Smith goes off the track. There's going to be plenty more where that came from.
And that's a big moment down into Druids of turn number 10. Easy section of the racetrack to try and lose it. I'm not sure whether there was any sort of extracurricular activity involved in that, whether there was contact or what that forced him into a spin, as I think we've had more drama. Yes, we have. Holy cow. That's an odd park job if ever you've seen one.
Frederick Surley, I'm afraid to say you can't park there. There's complaints all over the mic as there's going to be on a track like this. We'll try and catch replays of everything we can when there's time, but this is going to be a relentless race. Top 3 running away. Arnoldus holding up the next pack of drivers. Bellotti, Cash, Rory Hunt, and Werrell tucked in behind, but it often seems to kick off on this back portion of the track, and this is also the sort of track where that disqualification could really happen. It's happened before. 17x and you're out, so you want to keep some car contact out of the way for now.
I mean, I'm still hung up on that incident we saw not terribly long ago. That's a big moment for Daniel Tufts. He's in pit lane. Moore's in pit lane. More drivers running into some difficulties than they probably had in mind. The real question is, though, Howie, was it kind of expected heading off into a race like this? We were expecting it to be a bit hectic. I remember having a chat with a Formula 4 driver in a different series, and he was expecting the race to be, as we can say on these broadcasts, because it's not the right term that he said at the time, but we cannot repeat it on the air. He's thought that these races were going to be shiitake mushroom shows. I have a feeling we are seeing a bit of that early on. These drivers looking to keep the... Oh, boy! Right as I was going to say, these drivers are looking to keep it calm. We nearly saw a crash again down to turn 11.
That's Graham Rory Hunt running Christopher Cash's design, all but confusing around here, as that's another car design in the same car further up ahead at the back of that queue. Up front, Alex Grady. You know, you see a Red Bull design, you probably yield to him around a track like this. He sneaks around Jordan Gronowski. Now, I've done a lot of these rookie formula races on these sort of pack race style tracks, and one thing you come to know very quickly is it's not about who's leading on every lap, it's about who's leading on the last lap in the last few corners. A field that's intelligent at the front will swap positions back and forth up the road until the very end when the knives come out. That's usually how it goes. So we're going to see a little bit of swapping and moving down the straight. That's Arnoldus and Cash trading up front. Lewis Werrell keeping that first position. I've been told that Lewis Werrell has a history in European karting, and the kind where you fear him on the track.
And, you know, as a former karter myself, go-karts can teach you a heck of a lot. I always used to compare the braking in these race cars as reminding me of my old shifter kart days, just going into the turn, banging the crap out of those downshifts to try and get some engine braking and rotation down into the turn. These FFs, basically the first step out of karts around the world. So it is a very good race car if you are a kart driver, and we'll have to see how some of these drivers who've had some experience in karts do well throughout the rest of this season. The rest of this race as well. Already past a quarter mark of this race already. As we take a look at some side-by-side racing going on screen right now, that's involving the number 13, and right around him is Noguera, who gets that move done to remain inside of the top 10. Close battling that we've got at the present moment all throughout this field.
His top three have run away with it right now. 1.8 seconds to the size of the gap behind, and it seems to keep growing. Rens Brookman sits at the back of the three. Lewis Werrell then leads the next drivers ahead of Arnoldus, Cash and Bellotti. And they're very much just playing a single file. That's a car around. That's Martin Arnoldus. And I have a feeling that extracurricular activity might have been self-inflicted. We'll take a look on the cam before I say anything. We'll be able to get a quick replay up of that one.
Thing about turn number 5 is it is so inviting to try and carry a lot of speed all through there. You got a lot of banking to help you out, but if you carry a bit too much speed, there's two ways that'll end. You either spin out like we saw for Arnoldus there, or you end up just hopping the berm. I compared it a couple of days ago to basically being like a giant ball. It's like an old NASCAR track back before they decide to put retainer walls on the outside of the corners. You just run wide and you just launch off into a car park. That's basically what happens if you run wide down to turn number 5. Two things that can happen there if you misjudge the speed. Both of them not a very good moment. Unfortunate there for Arnoldus. Drops down. He's still just barely inside the top 10, but far, far back from where he once was. Heartbreaking mistake, but an easy one to make for sure down to 5.
The great thing about cars like this is they come with the restrictor plate package built in, you could say, given their average max speed, and that makes the draft effect even stronger, even without their aero. Once you're off the back of the pack, if you're on your own, you're in no man's land. If you're with a friend, such as Leonardo Perez Nogria up ahead, you have a chance to make your way up if you guys don't fight each other too much. Demas Sirkin sits behind in P11. If the three can stick in line, trade that lead when necessary, then they might be able to join the back of this train 4 seconds down the line, and at that point, all bets are off. More being traded down this back stretch, this very, very long, very, very fast back stretch. Looks like they went into trade side by side, and I saw from that move that there was a chance that goes wrong. P1 and 2, they're in the gravel. Let's keep a look at that. It's O'Grady in the Red Bull car, and Gronowski in the default livery, and that is a really, he's got a meatball flag, Gronowski, for that one, but a little bit of an outbreak holding it to the right hand side of the track, and that was ill-advised for either.
Yeah, that was two drivers contributing to an accident like that. It's in the heat of the moment, so these drivers not going to be thinking about the end of this race. They just want to get that move done. Side-by-side racing, though, down into turn number 7. There are two ways that ends. One way, it ends bad. The other way, it ends even worse. Unfortunately for those racers, side-by-side racing down into the turn is just never going to work in these race cars. Look at how far the wheels stick out from the side of the cars. It's basically like giant open wheel spiders, but with 4 legs instead of 8. It is so tricky to go side by side in these race cars for an extended period of time, especially when you're heading into a tough, challenging corner that's really difficult to get done single file, let alone side by side. Heading off through there side by side in cars like these, it's just a recipe for disaster.
Now, I usually like to sit on the fence, but I'd like to talk a little bit about ideal race strategy for a moment like that. I would quite like to just sort of get out the clipboard and talk a little bit about how you drive in a pack race, and that is simple. You're going to be trading the position. You're going to get it back. You probably shouldn't be running people close to the edge of the track like it's Formula 1. It's just not the time and the place right now when you two are trying to stay in the front of the pack. I very rarely like to put my stake out on the ground, so I'll put it out like that. This is a race where cooperation at the front is going to matter, and then you can make a move like that on the final lap, and we can talk about it then. But we have 10 minutes to go, and both of you at the back of the grid now. This race, Renz Brookman takes the lead. Lewis Werrell sits on the back, 2 seconds to the pack behind.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic point that you raised there, Howie, talking about how to do well in a race like this. There is one way to do well in a race like this. It is remain patient. Don't just throw haymakers at each other from start to finish, because frankly, there's one way that will end, and it is bad. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew in the early stages of this race. You need to work your way up to it. Manage the aggression. Be there towards the end. To finish first you have to finish. I've read that in a fortune cookie before, and in a series like this, in a car like this, or on a track where slipstreaming is the name of the game, just being there at the end will help your chances out a whole lot. Those racers, they had a good chance to do well. They're running P1 and P2, but because of some over-aggressive racing, frankly, from the both of them down to turn number 7, they don't have a hope and a prayer of being able to win this race. Just keep patient. Don't lose sight of the fact that, okay, you may be under 10 minutes to go now. There's still a lot of things that can happen in the span of about 9 minutes. I'm sure there's someone in the YouTube chat that can come up with a stat to see how many people are going to be born between now and the end of this race. It's a lot of time. Even though in the grand scheme of things it may not seem like much, it's not like they have 24 hours of racing action in front of them. It's still a decent amount of time, and a race as close and as tight as this, as that nearly ended in tears up the hill.
I'd like to now, we've died down a little bit as we approach the end of the race. Let's see some of these major lap 1 incidents from a better angle. Here's Fraser Smith's car. I don't know what happened, but he's getting very close to running too wide. And oh, that's a mighty send up the inside by the 6 car. That is what's going to have caused that one. If I get on board that number 6 car, Jordan Gronowski, and get on the roll bar.
That was definitely unintentional.
I don't know, yeah, it doesn't. It could have just been a lock at the wrong place at the wrong time. Missed the braking zone on lap 1. He really does try to keep it under control, and just a very, very small errant tap on that will do it. Of course, we then missed visibility of the big one. Frederick Surley went on a bit of a ride. You wondered how that car could park. Let's keep an eye on what happened around there.
You know, whenever I think of parking maneuvers, it reminds me of my brother who failed his driver's license tests 4 times on the parallel parking. And, yep, there we go, up in the air. Thank God that we are in the sim instead of real life, because I think we'd probably have to read out an obituary if we were in real life, as we're going to take a look at some more angles of this. Just about half the field blew apart down into the turn. Now, turn number 11, at the early stages of this race, it is not a good section to battle hard, and you can see Daniel Tusk, nothing he really could have done there. He got just roasted from the back end of his race car. Has to come into the pits to repair that damage. As you can see, the contact going on right behind, popping up into the air. Now, would that be a parking ticket? Is the real question I've got. I wonder if there's a toll meter that you have to pay somewhere down pit lane to park on top of someone else's car.
It's that blue car up ahead. I'm trying to spot exactly who it is because he has a 1 on his car, and I'm afraid to tell you he's not the 1 car. It is the 1 car. It's Henry I.E. Moore. He left the race. He's sitting at the bottom. Want to get one more angle of this. This track, this corner claims victims, and he's also coming hot, and that's kicked it all off.
Yeah, 1 tap, and it just about, I think it was probably about 6 or 7 cars that picked up either some marginal amount of damage or pretty much race-altering damage as a result of that collision. Small little tap to be sure, but it's enough for it to snowball out of control. 1 tap, and like a pack of dominoes, down they all fall. Tough moment down into turn number 11. That's a chain reaction you can get on lap 1 of these races when the field's packed in like they are, like sardines.
And you get the spare car in this series, but you're never going to win a race having taken it. Now, you may have noticed, as we've been watching replays, and these two have been trading their places back and forth, that the conga line has approached the field. Lewis Rerrell has gone from leading Renz Brookman to leading a field of 6, make it 6. Make it 6 back there. Alex O'Grady, the 7th car, not in range. Now we're in the final stage of the race, lap 9 out of 13. So when we cross the line, it will be 4 to go. And this is where the fireworks may kick off with 2 laps to go and then the ever elusive 1 lap to go. That's going to send cars upside down. There's no way they all make it out of here. And usually races on tracks like this, in packs like this, are decided on the line by thousands of seconds. Sometimes it's the person in second that comes to win the race. Expect anything from this pack out front, as they're likely going to play position trading, although the ones in the back are going to sort of want to get themselves closer up to the front just in time. I think Brookman and Werrell really wanted all these drivers behind to stay away.
Ooh, as they're nearly side by side down into Island Bend. As much as I said it was risky to race down into turn 7, even more so to do it into turn number 4. 1 small little off-track excursion coming out of that turn, and it is going to be a round of bowling down into turn at number 5. Let's see if we're going to see anybody try and get a move done. They're side by side between Brookman and Werrell at the front of the field. Will Brookman be able to get that move done around the outside, down the backstretch, off into turn 7? Looks like he clears them down to the braking zone just barely. Werrell gonna slip in front of Istad. They both go off the track coming out of the turn. Some rally action from Istad and Werrell. Istad now gonna look to try and get that move done to jump his way up to P2. Brookman briefly getting abducted by a UFO. No harm, no foul done there as we look at these racers still close together. Look at that. That is a top 6 covered by practically nothing, and all of them have a good shot to do well here.
Here's onboard Graham Rory Hunt. He's at the back of this queue, and time ticks away. Lap 11 out of 13 starts now. You get the full front view of what's going on up ahead, as I think they're going 3 wide down into turn 1. The crossovers, the cutovers, the drivers slipping off the track. They need to be careful with the track limit here as well. Only 17 instances off on a track that encourages you to take them. So you can get usually around, 10, 12 in this time. And then 1.4x takes you out of the race. It just disappears you. We've seen cars DQ'd around this track before. So I'm a little bit scared myself. We're clear and clean for now, but you can see the intensity in the pressure cooker boiling up and boiling up and boiling up. And it's going to keep going until one day it explodes.
And just based off what you said a couple of moments ago, Howie, I'm less so worried about a DQ, more so I'm worried about a driver ending up in the air or upside down. This is really starting to get intense. And oh, look at that! That's a move from Brookman, nearly running his way off into the dirt down the backstretch, gets that move done down the inside. They're 3 wide coming out of the turn. Look at Istad trying to keep that momentum rolling. He jumps in front of Brookman, and now he's going to try and get that move done on Werrell down into turn number 10. Not able to clear him down into the turn. He's not even able to clear Brookman there side by side on corner exit. He finally clears him in that number 7 car to jump into P2. But this is, oh man, it's, as you just said about a lap ago at this point now, Howie, it is boiling over. It's getting to that point where that water is bubbling up, that pasta's getting very close to the edge, and it's only a matter of time. You look away, you look at your phone, and next thing you know, all that water is just boiling over the side of the pot. It's hitting the griddle and steaming up, and disaster comes as a result.
And now here's where you'll start seeing the moves get made that I called marginal early. Now they're what you have to do to race. And yes, they're going to lead a Rex. And yes, they're going to upset people. They certainly are going to upset people. But it's a little bit dog-eat-dog out there. Further back, a brief look. Arnold Sirkin and Philip Sear are playing this game themselves. They've been doing a ton of swapping in places over the last few laps, 5 seconds back from the rest of the pack. It's unlikely that they quite make any ground unless every car wipes out. Let me talk to you about something that's been boiling up in the community up to now, though. There's a warm-up race in the community just before each broadcast time slot. Just as many cars hit the track, and they do it for unofficial points. And Brookman and Cash ran into trouble and controversy that led to a little bit of a back and forth just an hour ago. Now there's a minute to go on the SoF. They could just do it again. Cash has a teammate at the back of this line with him. I doubt if there's much drama, many drivers are going to want to talk to us after this race, let me tell you that. But he's right in range to maybe deliver much of the same controversy as we approach our white flag lap.
One more lap of racing action here at Oulton Park. These drivers have 12 turns to try and settle their differences in about 2.7 miles between now and the finish. I mean, I'm looking at this. I have a good feeling about Brookman and Cash maybe being the ones in the catbird seat to try and do well. I'd say more so Brookman as a side-by-side between Pilati and Cash down into turn number 3. It's going to cause these front three to break away a little bit. You can see that gap developing between these drivers in the front pack of this field. If you're Werrell or Istad, really, I would say Werrell, he's going to be a sitting duck coming out of turn number 5 here in a couple of moments' time. Istad may have that run. He's going to have to be commanding with the move. Renz Brookman, though, I am going to be keeping tabs on the driver of the number 3 car. He has got some wind in his sails. He wants to right the wrongs of that race that immediately preceded this one. Let's see as they head their way on the backstretch for the final time.
Every move here is now calculated and every move matters. There is no time for peace. Lewis Werrell takes the lead coming out of Neckerbrook. Runs a little wide, has the lead for now. Istad and Brookman will run even side by side into our last few turns. It's very often the driver in second or third that can leapfrog if they get a good exit down and up the hill. But he could be getting disrupted by Istad. The space and time is running out. There's one last big opportunity to send it. I'm amazed they're able to thread the needle without contact, but it's not going to make either of them fast enough as Lewis Werrell takes the first season win.
And bravo to him. I am not sure how he was able to hold on to that race lead. I pretty much entirely counted him out, but he was able to keep that rolling. He pulls off into the runoff area, and he should be quite happy with that result. Holding on to the race lead, withstanding that challenge down through the final sector of that lap on the last lap of this race. Werrell, he certainly earned it in that 4 car.
I will say it was less explosive than I possibly feared. This could have been an absolute extraordinary blow-up, but instead, most of the drivers make it home. Of course, not all of them. We need the on-track EMTs to clear out a little bit of what happened on the first lap. We'll just show you a little bit more of it one last time to give us something to see, and then we might be able to talk to a couple of these drivers.
I would love to hear what their insight is on this race, because it was tough from start to finish, whether it be that draft, whether it be the drama at the beginning of this race that we're taking a look at right now. You can see that stack up out of the turn, and that park job right there on 2 cars at once. That's a new record. I actually managed to clear that out all by themselves. That looks rather goofy, but I would love to hear what some of these drivers have to say and hear some of their insight as to how difficult it is to manage a race like this here at Oulton Park. We were expecting it to be dramatic, and we certainly got it. I was expecting a bit more fireworks at the end of that. Fireworks disaster, so to speak. Those drivers, though, very skilled racers in this series. They are able to keep it clean and keep it smooth and keep it collected at the front of this field. As we take a look at that park maneuver on lap 1. That will stick with me for a while.
Frederick Surly, you can't really park there, I'm afraid. Here's Martin Arnoldus on the 4th lap going around. I don't remember, I think this is the one I caught the replay of, and we decided he just sort of did that to himself. It's quite easy, send the cars in, lock up hard, and then regret your decisions on the other side of the turn, and that's how that went around for him, and that pretty much marks the end of his race. Here's something that we also caught a little earlier. It's O'Grady and Jordan Brunowski running each other very, very close down the backstretch of this track. Now, sometimes after races like this, no one wants to talk to us. Let me just make that really... Sometimes there's no attitude. I can... I'll make a call out. Because the winners often just are so tired and so worn out. They don't really want to... they don't really need to induce themselves with more stress, but it has been a tough field. We do have a couple of drivers coming in now. All it takes is an open casting call, and we're going to give it a start with Renz Brookman, who finished P2 today. I'll leave that with you, Ron. I should have queued you in. That's mine.
Yep. Don't worry. Quite all right. Renz, welcome into the commentary booth, man. How was that race out there here at Oulton Park? It looked quite hectic.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. It was quite hectic. I was trying to be really patient until two guys were fighting really hard in front of me. They actually came together as well, so I was kind of expecting that, to be honest. And then Lewis drove an amazing race, catching up to me, and then being able to fight me and Alex for the win. It was quite fun, very close and very intense, but awesome fun. So congrats to Lewis most of all.
Now, I want to ask you about that end of the race, being involved in that battle, because, these slipstream races, whenever it gets to the end of this race, I mean, from our perspective in the commentary booth, it is always so unbelievably tense. So how was it from your perspective behind the wheel? I'm sure it's got to be rather unnerving, having to put a lot of weight just in getting a good run down that backstretch.
Yes, it is. I think it's about 3 or 4 tenths you can actually make up, and so when you're within 3 to 4 tenths, you can probably actually pull side by side. But then going into Knickerbrook, it's very, very tricky. You have to kind of hope, if you're on the outside, that the guy on the inside carries a little bit too much speed in and is slow up the hill. But Lewis, every single time he was on the inside, did it perfectly. So he kept perfect pace, didn't drift wide, wasn't not slow up the hill, or not slower than I was at least. He did an amazing job.
And looking ahead for the rest of this season here for Season 3 of 2025, got a rather awesome schedule to look forward to. And next week, we're going to be running at the Red Bull Ring on the Grand Prix layout. Even more of a slipstream fest there. So what are your thoughts heading to that race in 1 week's time?
Yeah, well, as you said, it will probably be even more of a slipstream fest there. Quite a lot of tracks actually on this schedule seem to be quite a slipstreamy, if I can say that like that. But yeah, the slipstream races, or when you can be able to keep a close group with the slipstream, they're extremely intense, but great fun. And especially with the guys in here, they'll race hard but fair. Look very much forward to the races there.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you out there on the racetrack in just 1 week's time, and hopefully throughout the rest of the season as well, Renz Brookman. We'll let you give any thanks or shouts out before we let you go and celebrate this P2.
Well, just thanks for everybody in here racing. Thanks to you guys for doing the commentary, of course. And again, congrats to Lewis and Alex actually for the podium.
Well, awesome, man. Hey, well, thank you for joining us here in the commentary booth. Well done on the P2 here at Oulton Park, and looking forward to seeing you out there on the rest of the season, man. Thank you for joining us.
All right, thanks, guys.
And that was Renz Brookman. Now it's time to call, I think, on our race winner, Lewis Werrell. Lewis Werrell, first time up here in the booth. Do you have a copy? I'm just about making you out in the background. I'll do my absolute best to crank you up as hard as I can. Please don't surprise me now with the volume. First time I've seen you out here in the SoF. Might not have been your first ever, but there's a couple names that stick in the mind. But a clear dominant win climbing up the field, and in a tough track like this. How was it like keeping on?
It was a crazy race, to be honest. I did no qualifying after getting 2 off tracks, and in the race I just had really good pace. And then I was in 4th, and I just managed to get in the slipstream, and then they crashed for the lead, Alex and somebody else, and then I was in P2, and then I was catching up to the leader. I overtook the leader, and then it was just a really clean race after that.
The last few laps are very often a bit of a knife fight, especially the one with the white flag, but you very much seem to get away with it, the cars behind, doing a little bit of back and forth tussling. How scary is it running into the white flag on a draft track?
Well, I know I had the good pace, and I was just making sure I got that corner as well as I could, because that was the most important corner, because of the slipstream, and I managed to do it really well every lap, and they couldn't quite get past me, but they were very clean, the 2 I was battling with, and yeah, well done to them.
Do you plan on making any stops for the rest of this season? Because we have quite the refreshed season schedule, and you've entered with the full complement of starting points.
Yeah, I think we'll be back at Red Bull Ring.
Finally, any shout out or thank yous while you're on the air?
Yeah, I'd like to say thank you to you guys for the stream. Alexander and Renz for a great battle. Likewise, Alex and other people. And yeah, can't wait for Red Bull Ring.
Well, the Red Bull car waiting for the Red Bull Ring. That is how it is. Thanks for coming. Thanks for talking. See you on the track.
Thank you too. Right.
And finally, I'm going to leave you, Ron, with someone who always has something to say. Alexander Istad in 3rd.
Well, based off that, Alexander Istad and I have something in common. Alex, welcome into the commentary booth, man. Congratulations on this race here at Oulton Park. It looked rather terrifying out there from start to finish, at least from our perspective in the commentary booth. So how was it out there for you behind the wheel?
It was terrifying. From start to finish. It was amazing. When I got up to Renz and Lewis, it was just trying to make some kind of distance to the guys behind. Up until that point, it was dodging cars going everywhere and just trying to keep it on track.
Yeah, and really battling with the challenging nature of this racetrack as well. It's one that I personally enjoy, but many pitfalls around this old school UK racetrack. Not a lot of runoff area. The track is rather narrow. How difficult would you say it is keeping that car on the island throughout these races?
If you keep inside the limits, of course, but if you keep inside the limits, the speed is inside the limits, to say it, and you go over the limit, you lose the speed, you lose the time, and you go off.
And certainly not the right strategy to go off the track at every single opportunity. Those incident points can certainly bite hard in these 20-minute long races. Bit of a slipstream fest here, but I feel like it will pale in comparison to the next round of the championship at the Red Bull Ring in just 1 week's time. What are your thoughts heading off for that race?
I'm going on holiday, so I wish everybody good luck and enjoy.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's a rather good time for a holiday. I can't blame you one bit for wanting to skip out on that race, because that is going to be a rather terrifying affair for all the drivers out there on the racetrack. But looking forward to seeing you out there on the racetrack later on this season, Alex. Well, I'll let you give any thanks or chats out before we let you go.
Yeah, I just want to thank the team and Frederick for helping me with the setup in the last minutes, and everybody doing this race, because it was amazing. Good race.
Yeah, it was a massive field of racers registering for this race. 4 splits, and this top split action had, I think, a SoF of 4,800 or something insane like that. So brilliant stuff to get Season 3 underway. Alexander, thank you for joining us in the commentary booth, and looking forward to seeing you out there on the racetrack a little bit later on this season, after next week.
Thank you.
I think maybe we'll all need a break from whatever happens to us at the Red Bull Ring. If you've not seen what happens there, it is the stuff of madness. So that marks the beginning of a newly christened, very international season. Any reflections on how that one's kicked off?
Well, it's some classic Oulton Park action here from these FF cars. We didn't really get to see it last season when we had the race heavily soaked with rain from the drop of the green flag all the way through to the fall of the checkered here on Maconi Entertainment. But now to get the season up and rolling, we had a killer race. It was fantastic. It was action-packed. Had our own share of incidents sprinkled throughout it, but outside that, it was absolutely fantastic stuff from a rather stacked grid of racers as well. The Red Bull Ring, though, in 1 week's time. I am very happy that I'm going to be in the broadcast booth instead of behind the wheel for that race. Last time I did a broadcast of some Formula Ford action at the Red Bull Ring, the driver who started that final lap with the race lead ended his race upside down into turn number 3. So I am hoping that we do not have that happen in 1 week's time.
Well, the whole field leaves me very, very, very tired running a Red Bull Ring race. But we got a long season up ahead, 13 iRacing weeks, including a big stint in the United States of America. And a couple technical tricky tracks in there too. More past the cuts, but that's all we can really show and have time for today. Let me tell you that. From Maconi Entertainment, Howie Burrows and Ronald Mons, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. We'll see you same time, same place, where Monday is always the